He was an Edomite, a man from Edom. Doeg worked inside Saul's kingdom and was in charge of the king's herdsmen. One day, Doeg was in Nob, a small town where many of Israel's priests lived. While Doeg was there, David suddenly entered the town alone, hungry, and without a weapon. Ahimelech, the priest of Nob, came out and asked why David had no men with him. He knew David as a trusted fighter in Saul's house, not as someone running from the king. David needed help, so he told Ahimelech a story that was not true. David claimed that Saul had sent him on a secret job, while his men waited elsewhere. Ahimelech believed him because he had not heard that Saul now wanted David dead. The priest saw a servant of the king who needed food, not an enemy hiding from Saul. Doeg was present as the meeting took place, and he learned what David needed. Ahimelech had only holy bread, which had been placed before God during worship. Since no other bread was available, the priest gave this food to David. David then asked whether Ahimelech had a spear or sword that he could take. The priest said only one weapon was there, the sword of Goliath the giant. After David killed Goliath, the great sword had been wrapped in cloth and kept at Nob.
It is yours.
Ahimelech brought out the weapon, and David quickly asked him to hand it over. Doeg now knew that a priest had given Saul's enemy both food and a sword. He also knew the weapon was famous because it came from David's greatest victory. The sword had been kept behind the special clothing worn by the priest during worship. When Ahimelech offered it, David said there was no other sword like it. He left Nob carrying a weapon that everyone in Israel could connect to his name. David noticed Doeg before leaving, and he knew that Doeg worked for Saul. David later said that he expected the Edomite to tell the king what happened. Still, David could not remain in Nob, so he took the supplies and continued his escape. Doeg was left with facts that no other servant of Saul had seen. David had entered Nob alone, received holy bread, and taken the sword of Goliath. Scripture says nothing about Doeg's next actions until he appears again before the king. Saul was sitting under a tree with a spear in his hand, surrounded by his servants. Although these men came from his own people, the king believed they were hiding information from him. He accused them of caring more about David than they cared about their king. Saul asked whether David would give them land or make them leaders in his army. He also complained that no one told him when his son Jonathan helped David. Saul spoke as if every silent servant had joined a plan to remove him. The king said that no servant felt sorry for him or warned him about danger. He claimed David was waiting to attack, although David was running away from Saul. The king wanted one of the silent men to give him a name. The servants gave no answer, but Doeg stepped forward with the news from Nob. "I saw David go to Ahimelech," he said before Saul and the gathered men. Ahimelech asked the Lord for help, gave him food, and gave him Goliath's sword. Saul believed Doeg's report, then ordered Ahimelech and his family of priests to appear. The king did not send for one man alone, because his anger reached the whole priestly family. When they arrived, Doeg's words became the main charge placed against them. Ahimelech answered Saul's call by saying, "Here I am, my lord." He still spoke to Saul as his king, even while facing a serious charge. The other priests stood with him, waiting to learn why they had all been called. Saul asked Ahimelech why he had joined David and helped him rise against the king. He named the food, the sword, and the help that Ahimelech had asked from God. In Saul's mind, these acts proved that the priest had chosen David's side. Ahimelech answered that David was known as one of Saul's most trusted servants. The priest also said this was not the first time he had asked God for David. He had done it before, when David still served openly inside Saul's house. Ahimelech ended by saying that neither he nor his family knew anything about David's escape. His answer explained why the meeting at Nob had not looked wrong to him. David had used Saul's name, and Ahimelech believed that he was still serving the king. Saul refused to accept the defense. because he had already chosen to believe Doeg's report.
I swear it.
"You will die, Ahimelech," he said, "you and your father's whole family."
For this you
The king then ordered his guards to turn and kill the priests of the Lord. Every guard refused to carry out the command, even though Saul could punish them. These soldiers had obeyed him in war, but they would not raise their hands against unarmed priests.
cowards.
Their refusal stopped the killing for a moment, but Saul quickly turned toward Doeg.
My lord, they
"You turn and kill the priests," Saul ordered.
as you could.
Doeg obeyed. He struck down 85 priests that day, each wearing the special linen clothes of a priest, and had come because their king called them, and none had been found guilty. Saul gave the order, but Doeg became the person who carried it out. The killing before Saul was only the first part of the attack. Doeg also put Nob, the town of the priests, to the sword. The judgment now reached people who never stood before Saul and never heard the charge against Ahimelech. Men and women were killed, along with children, babies, cattle, donkeys, and sheep. The Bible includes the animals to show how fully Nob was destroyed. The town where Doeg had seen David receive help became empty because of the information he gave Saul. One priest escaped the attack, and his name was Abiathar, a son of Ahimelech. He left Nob and ran to David, carrying a special priestly garment called an ephod. Abiathar had lost his father, his family, and the town where he had served. When Abiathar arrived, he told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord. David understood that Doeg's report had started the attack, and he accepted his own part. He admitted knowing that Doeg would tell Saul, yet he had still asked Ahimelech for help. David told Abiathar to remain with him, because Saul now wanted both of them dead. "Stay with me, and do not be afraid," David told the surviving priest. "The person seeking your life is also seeking mine, and you will be safe with me." Abiathar accepted the offer and remained beside David during Saul's search. Abiathar later carried the ephod with him when David went to a town called Keilah. Saul learned where David was and prepared to trap him inside its walls. When David heard about Saul's plan, he asked Abiathar to bring the ephod. Earlier, David had saved the city Keilah from the Philistines, and now he was staying there. But when Saul came after him, David wondered if the people of Keilah would betray him to save themselves. Saul still believed the town would hand David over once the royal army arrived. Through the priest, David asked God whether Saul would come and attack the town. He also asked whether the people of Keilah would hand him over to Saul. God warned David that Saul was coming and that the people would give him up. David and his 600 men left Keilah before Saul reached them, so the king's plan failed. They spread out across the land, making it harder for Saul to trap them. Abiathar had given David the help needed to escape another attack from the king. After the destruction of Nob, the Bible records nothing else about Doeg's life. It does not say whether Saul rewarded him, punished him, or gave him greater power. Doeg disappears from the history, but his name returns in a song written by David. The song is Psalm 52. David begins by asking why a powerful person would be proud of doing evil. He describes the person's tongue as a sharp knife. Soon, the priestly family stood before the king, facing a charge built from those words. Psalm 52 says, "This person loves evil instead of good, and lies instead of truth." Doeg's report included real events, but it did not explain that David had fooled Ahimelech. Saul heard what the priest had given David, without hearing why the priest believed him. The song next warns that God will bring the evil person down and remove him. It says the wealth he trusted will not protect him when that judgment comes. Any place Doeg gained beside Saul could not give him safety from God. David ends the psalm with a very different picture, calling himself a green olive tree. Such a tree remains alive, grows strong, and continues to produce fruit. David believed God's love would keep him alive, even while Saul and Doeg worked against him. He promises to thank God and wait for God's name, because he believes it is good. The psalm therefore moves away from Doeg before its final words.
If you can, please subscribe. This video took a long time to make, and your support goes a long way. Thank you for watching, and God bless.